Well, hello there, Music is a Journey viewers. I'm Peter Scove, and today's video is about albums that I have in my collection that were released in 1974. Everyone else is doing it. I always do it every January, pick out the year and go back to 30, 40, 50 years ago. So today is 50. Everybody loves the big 50. I already did my 40. I've got a 30 coming up. Got a bit of a 60 coming up too, actually. But yeah, let's take a look at 1974. So for me, 1984 was really a big one because that's, of course, I was 13 at that time and I was really getting into music and I bought a lot of stuff as it came out. But 74, obviously I was 3 years old and I had no concept of buying things. However, I do love the 70s, and a lot of the bands that I liked in the 80s actually got their start back in the 70s, and of course there were just a lot of other great bands around in the 1970s. So as with the previous video, the 1984 video, I'm going to break this up into groups. The first group is going to be the hard and heavy group. Some of these albums I previously mentioned in a video a couple of weeks back. I did a video about albums released by a band in 1974 comparing to their 1984 release, or any other kind of sequences in years of 4. So it could have been 74, 84, it could have been 84, 94, 2004, whatever. But anyway, so some of these I'm going to be mentioning for the second time. And so as not to ramble on for too long, I'm going to try not to talk too much about each album. So here we go, let's get started with Judas Priest's debut, Rock-A-Rolla, released in 1974. This album being the one of the oddballs in the catalog. This one being the oddball because after the lineup with Rob Halford and Glenn Tipton was solidified, most of the material on this album was actually written during the Al Atkins era. So basically KK Downing and Ian Hill were the ones who were mostly involved in that. I think also drummer John Hinch. Oh, that is some really small print there. I think it was John Hinch who was the drummer on this one. Yeah, so after this, of course, Rob Halford and Glenn Tipton would both become more involved in the songwriting, and the next album, we know where that takes us, right? But here it is, the debut with the original album cover. I like original album covers if I can get them. So next up, Scorpions' Fly to the Rainbow, and this one is also an interesting album because the lineup that recorded the debut album Lonesome Crow actually split up afterwards. They lost Michael Schenker to UFO and the band just folded, and then Rudolf Schenker went to see his friend Uli John Roth, who had a band called Dawn Road, and said, can I join your band maybe? And then Uli said, yeah, but then I want your singer from the Scorpions, Klaus Meine, to join the band as well. And it was actually a 6-member band during the recording process because Uli's band had a keyboard player. However, the keyboard player would quit somewhere, I think near the end of the recording sessions or after the recording sessions, but before the album was released. So this is one of the few early Scorpions albums to actually feature keyboards on. Speedy's Coming, of course, the exciting opening track. And what is it? Drifting Sun, which is actually one of my favorites. Where we can hear some of that keyboard in there. So this was Dawn Road plus 2 former Scorpions members, and then they just decided to go with the Scorpions name because that was an established band. They'd already had an album out, whereas Dawn Road hadn't. So yeah, that was the beginning of kind of the second phase of the Scorpions. There it is, Fly to the Rainbow. Also a band coming out with a second album, if I can pick it up here, in 1974, Aerosmith with Get Your Wings. A big step up for them. They got Jack Douglas in as their producer, so they were much more happier about the sound that they got. Definitely an improvement in sound over the first album. I actually quite like the first album, but I understand that the band have their misgivings about it. This one here, Same Old Song and Dance, the opening track, that was the first song I ever heard from this. It was on an Aerosmith, what was it, Aerosmith Classics compilation album that I had before. And Spaced, which is one of my favorite songs on here. It has a kind of Who feel to it with the way those big slashing guitar chords come in. And I happen to love songs about space. Let's see, what else was there? SOS Too Bad. Now, okay, so I saw Aerosmith live in Tokyo in 2000, and they played quite a selection. It wasn't a particular album they were touring for. They were just playing a selection of songs over their career. And at that time, I still actually didn't have this album. So when I heard that SOS Too Bad, I remember there was a lyric about a rat and a schoolboy. And I wondered, what song is that? What album is it from? And not so long after I got this and immediately recognized it right away. Also, Train Kept A-Rollin', the old Yardbirds classic, which was, actually a cover song of inspired by the Johnny Brunette Trio, who had actually covered an older version. I think I'm going to do a video about Train Kept A-Rollin' later on this year, if I can. It's been on the list now for the last like 3 or 4 years. And Seasons of Wither, also really cool song on this one here. So, Aerosmith, Get Your Wings, the second album. And, I still have it in this little bag. I should really take it out, but it's kind of for protection. Maybe I'll just show it. No, I won't. I'll take it out. I'll edit this. There you go. Uriah Heep's Wonderworld, the only album of '74. For a band that released, that had a lot of years where they released 2 albums. Kind of surprising they had only one in '74. But here it is, Wonderworld. A lot of people don't like it so much. When I did my, internet rankings of Uriah Heep, the kind of average of about a dozen lists or so, Wonderworld was somewhere on the lower end of the middle, I think it was. But anyway, I rather like it. So, Wonderworld. My favorite band in my 10th grade, this is Nazareth, Rampant, the last of 3 albums they did with Roger Glover producing. And I think most of this album is quite good. I love the Silver Dollar Forger, parts 1 and 2, the opening to this here. Glad When You're Gone, nice fun one. Loved and Lost, the Nazareth ballad anyway. Shanghai to Shanghai, another fun song. Jet Lag, a typical, Nazareth song. Light My Way, the kind of big, grandiose type song. Sunshine, the beautiful ballad. And then Shapes of Things and Space Safari. Shapes of Things being, another Yardbirds cover, by the way. And Space Safari, which I think is pretty weird. All these weird spacey effects, and I don't think it really works for Nazareth. But anyway, the rest of the album is quite good. Rampant by Nazareth, you see there? Oh, let's see here. Burn, Deep Purple. Now, new lineup here with David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes. Burn, which I think is a very exciting album. Really, the band sounds refreshed, reinvigorated, and ready to tackle things anew. Of course, the majestic Burn, exciting song that one is. I think the whole album holds together really well, except for maybe the A200 instrumental at the end. I mean, it's interesting, but maybe if it just didn't finish the album with that. It's kind of curious, because the rest of the album, songs like Sail Away and You Fool No One and Mistreated, What's Going On Here, Lay Down, Stay Down. This is such a rockin' album. And then they finish up with a weird instrumental with John Lord testing out a synthesizer, because he had thus far avoided synthesizers. And later on in the year, their second album with the same lineup, and also the last album with the same lineup, Stormbringer. And one thing I think is interesting, that the song Burn and the song Stormbringer actually are what Rainbow was going to do, the lyrical themes of those songs anyway. Stormbringer, geez, this is one I really don't listen to much. And in fact, when I was going over the first 10 albums of Deep Purple last year, I remember thinking, wow, Come Taste the Band is a lot better than I remembered it. I really like this album now, but Stormbringer, I'm still a bit like, I don't remember, what was it I liked about it again? I think Hold On, maybe? The Gypsy, Soldier of Fortune. Well, anyway, it still is a pretty good album because it's a Deep Purple album. So that's Stormbringer. Then, now this album, a lot of people love this one. This is Blue Oyster Cult's Secret Treaties. Some people considering it their best album. Some people, is it Tyranny and Mutation and Secret Treaties together? Which one comes out on top? And some people just loving the first 3 albums altogether. This one here, Career of Evil, I love that one there. Co-written with Patti Smith. Dominance and Submission, probably my favorite song. And in my video last year of Blue Oyster Cult, I think I said Eric Bloom singing, but it was actually Al Bouchard singing on that one there. Anyway, great song, my favorite. Emmy 262, I think I said something different. And I got corrected at least 3 times in the comments of that video. But yeah, this is an album that just is really cool all the way through. I think a lot of the songs segue one into the next with sound effects or something, and it works. It's wonderful. Harvester of Eyes, Flaming Telepaths, and the mighty majestic astronomy at the end. Just a really fantastic album. I did want to try to get a hold of this on that remastered series I've talked about previously, where some of the later albums I got them and they sound much better than the original CD version that I had, but this was the only one that was not available. I think just it's sold and it's gone. That's it. Say goodbye. But Blue Oyster Cult, Secret Treaties. A debut band. Kiss. I don't have a lot of Kiss. Not a monstrously huge Kiss fan. I probably would like 1 or 2 songs per album, so I haven't really touched their catalog. But are there cracks in this thing? There are too. There are a couple of cracks in this case. But anyway, there it is. The Kiss debut, Strutter. Okay, that's a good one. I like that. I would put that on a mixed playlist of hard rock songs from the 70s. There were a couple of other ones on here too that I remember thinking were pretty decent, but I don't remember what they are anymore because I haven't listened to this since, I think when I first got it, I listened to it a couple of times, and then after that, kind of left it for a bit. I wonder why it's cracked. I don't remember it being cracked. Well, whatever. Anyway, still though, I'm glad to have this one. It's interesting enough. I'm keeping it. Yeah, keeping it. Yeah, there you go. I think I've got 3 Kiss albums. Okay. Sorry, Chris Prophy. I know he loves Kiss. Let's see here. Rush, of course, debut. Kind of interesting putting these two together because, you know, they toured together early on in their careers. So, and they had a good time. I think these two guys got on really well. But here, Rush's debut with John Rutsey on the drums still, and the only album with him. And just a really straight up cool hard rockin' album, Finding My Way, very Zeppelin-esque in a way. Love that Take a Friend, Need Some Love, Here Again. What You're Doing is one of my favorites though. I just love that heavy riff and the kind of, you know, angry attitude. See you standing there with your finger in the air, whatever. And of course, Working Man at the very end, the song that really kind of got them off on the radio there, thanks to that radio station in Cleveland. And what's that DJ's name? I forget her name now, but yeah. Yeah, cool. Good. I love Rush. Okay. Here's another one. Another twofer from 74. Queen coming out with Queen 2 and Sheer Heart Attack. I talked about this in the previous video where Queen had these 2 albums in 74 and the works in 84. So not a lot more to say about these here, I think. But I think Ogre Battle is one of my favorite Queen songs that it's on here. And I really like this... Bring Back That Leroy Brown, wasn't it? Yeah, Bring Back That Leroy Brown. It's almost difficult for me to say that. Yeah. Anyway, both of these albums, really good, solid, early Queen albums, and sound great to me and a lot of other people. I'm going to put these on the floor for a second. Another band I got into, I never was interested in before, but really got into a few years ago. This is Styx and Man of Miracles. This is a special... they had, I think, Up to Kilroy Was Here re-released on this special like mini LP style thing here. And I got most of them. A couple of the more popular ones like The Grand Illusion and Pieces of Eight and the second album. I couldn't get those. They were just too expensive to do. But yeah, this one here managed to get a hold of it. Man of Miracles. Not a bad album. It's got a few good tracks, but I think the closing track, the title track, Man of Miracles, is one of the best ones and has a bit of almost a Uriah Heep feel to it. Interesting thing is, while the band was trying to promote this at the local radio stations, one DJ said, nothing so much on here, but that song you guys had a couple of years back, that Lady song, I really liked that one. I'll play that one on the radio. And then, so, you know, 2 albums after it was released, Lady became the hit for the band, and that got them the interest of A&M Records, and they left Wooden Nickel. This was their last of the first 4 albums they did with Wooden Nickel. So yeah, this was actually, in a way, important because, not because of this album, but because the DJ picked a song from the previous album while they were promoting this one. Anyway, those old Wooden Nickel albums are pretty cool. Still, John Serlewski on guitar and lead vocals and songwriting instead of Tommy Shaw. So, and James Young getting more vocal credits, more vocals on these older albums as well than what he would get after Tommy Shaw joined. Real cool one here, Budgie. In for the Kill from 1974. What was the one on here? Crash Course and Brain Surgery. Didn't Metallica cover that? I know they covered the Bread Fan one. I think somebody covered Crash Course and Brain Surgery anyway. Let's see here. Aren't there any weird song titles on here? Like, they usually have some really strange ones. I guess not. There's a bonus track here called Zoom Club. Anyway, yeah, Budgie, In for the Kill. I love their earlier albums. They're just kind of more intense, hard rocking albums. Oh, this moment. Here we go. 2 albums again in 1974. Sweet, with Sweet Fanny Adams and Desolation Boulevard. And the North American release of Desolation Boulevard would actually be a compilation of Sweet Fanny Adams, Desolation Boulevard, and the single version of Fox on the Run, which is different from the album version, and I think it was Ballroom Blitz as well. So yeah, that North American Desolation Boulevard is kind of a greatest hits of these two and a couple of singles. But I do love this era of Sweet. This is the first one where they really start getting heavy. Still, that who are those songwriters now? I forget the names of the guys who were doing songwriting with them. Still, they're on here. Well, this actually has a lot of bonus tracks. I have to listen to this again. Ballroom Blitz is on here. Hellraiser. Yeah, no, Sweet F.A. Is one of my favorites. That's a really good metal song from 1974. You gotta dig that. That almost gets a kind of Metallica part going in one part of the song there, and lots of crazy guitar soloing. Yeah, cool. And yeah, Desolation Boulevard. 16 solid gold brass. Man with the Golden Arm. Mick Tucker drum solo, actually. That's pretty cool. They also have a cover of My Generation, really. Oh, I forgot about that. I'm so used to the North American one, which I had for ages. I gotta listen to these again. Okay, and of course, oh, look at this lovely box thing I have here for UFO's Phenomena, their first studio album together with Michael Schenker. This thing does fold out, doesn't it? Yeah, look at that. Oh, look at that, eh? Was it only 2 discs? I think there's a 3rd disc hiding in here. I think this is a 3-disc set, isn't there? Yeah. Phenomena Live at the Electric Ballroom. Have I actually even listened to it? There's the regular album, and then there's this massive collection of well, it's 16 tracks of other material. Probably from the same time, and then a live disc. I don't think I've actually listened to the live disc yet. I'm not so big on live discs, but yeah, I quite like this. I think this one and the next 4 after this are really good UFO albums. After that, I'm not really sure what happens with them, I think. And one other thing to mention, not really all that hard and heavy, but this is Petra, the Christian rock band. I had a lot of their albums from the 80s. I was in a kind of Christian phase for a while, did a video about that before, and Petra gradually became harder and harder rocking until 88 to 90. They were probably at their most hardest rocking. This is their kind of humble beginnings, almost a little bit southern rock in places, but yeah, I can't say it's a fantastic album, but I knew I had to get it one day just out of curiosity to know where did Petra start. So there it is. Okay, so that is the hard rock, hard and heavy rock set. Now we're going to move on to the prog set, which is not as long, but here we go. Let's take a look at Yes, Relayer with Patrick Moraz on keyboards. Was Moraz, right? Yeah. The only album to feature him on keyboards. And I think he was a bit miffed when Rick Wakeman was asked to come back, and then he was booted out. But I remember reading in the Yes book that I have on the shelf somewhere over there that he was really happy to be asked to be part of the band anyway, originally. So yeah, this is it. One side-along track, the Gates of Delirium, and then on side 2, Sound Chaser and, what the heck was it called? To Be Over. Sound Chaser I find is really interesting, but once when I was checking out a Maharavisha Orchestra album on YouTube, I thought there was one song that sounded quite a bit like Sound Chaser, and I couldn't help but wondering if Yes weren't inspired by that. But anyway, yeah, neat album. Let's see here, of course, Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, the last album with Peter Gabriel, and a lot of people calling this a massive classic, and I'm afraid I just don't find it as exciting as the previous 3 albums. I love Nursery Crime, and Foxtrot I think is also almost as good, and Selling England by the Pound has also some great tracks, but I don't find that same exciting music going on here very much. I mostly think I'm trying to follow this kind of weird dreamlike story rather than pay much attention to the music. And I think the story kind of takes over for the music. But then again, I've only listened to it about twice, so maybe I need to listen to it again. Yeah, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway anyway, a big album. And this one I thought was kind of interesting. I'd forgotten that this was 74, but this is Roger Glover and Guests, The Butterfly Ball and The Grasshopper's Feast. And this was after Roger Waters was out of Deep Purple and put together this kind of, it's like kind of like a children's story type thing. In fact, I don't remember really much about it, except for that Ronnie James Dio is on here as a guest, David Coverdale is on here, Glenn Hughes is on here. There were a lot of guests involved, and the interesting thing is that when they were performing this live, at that time Ronnie James Dio had begun working together with Ritchie Blackmore and Rainbow, and Ritchie Blackmore would not let him appear for the live performances of this. So Roger Glover asked Ian Gillan, who wasn't in music at the time. Ian Gillan had given up music and was running a motorcycle repair shop and a hotel, both of which were losing money tremendously. And he asked if Ian Gillan would mind doing the live performance of this. And when Ian walked out on stage, I think it was even unannounced, he just walked out on stage to sing Ronnie James Dio's parts, and the crowd just went nuts to see him. And then that made him realize, I've got to get back into doing this. And so he started up a solo career there with the Ian Gillan Band and so on after that. But yeah, that's the Butterfly Ball. I'll probably have to, I haven't listened to this one also for probably about 10 years. 10 years or more. All right, I mentioned this in a previous video. Pick an album from 1974. I think it was the vinyl tag of 2024. Pick an album from 1974. So I mentioned Camel's Mirage. Again, out of the 3 Camel albums I have, this is my favorite one. I just find the music is really exciting in a lot of places, but also still brings in some of that kind of more mellow, smooth side that Camel is kind of known for. I do like this Nimrodel, the Procession, the White Rider thing here. I just think that is one of the coolest Camel tracks, especially the White Rider part, the last one. It gets this like really cool feeling. It's like it starts with like the bass is playing a line, but by the end it sounds like it has changed over to a synthesizer playing the bass line. I'm not really sure. And there's these like echoey, creaky guitar effects and just this really wonderful like kind of like threatening, ominous, forbidding atmosphere to it. Yeah, I love that stuff. So Camel. Here's one else also I haven't listened to for ages. Hawkwind, the Hall of the Mountain Grill. Yeah, man, I haven't listened to Hawkwind since probably about 10 years ago too, when I first started picking up a couple of their albums just to hear what they sounded like. What the heck is on here anyway? The Psychic Warlords Disappear in Smoke. Sounds good, yes. D-Rider, Web Weaver, You'd Better Believe It. I don't remember how any of these sound. Damn, I gotta get this in my ears again. Okay, Super Tramp, Crime of the Century, has dust on it. Why? It's been in a box for ages, and how did the dust get in the box? But anyway, Crime of the Century, not a monstrous Supertramp fan. Have 3 albums, which I got just basically because I thought I should be checking them out. What is it? School, Bloody Well Right. That is the one song I really go back to, and nothing to find wrong with that song. Bloody Well Right, love it. There are also some pretty good ones on here, but Dreamer, I think I hated that song until I finally got the CD, and then hearing it, really paying attention to it, I thought, all right, it's actually, maybe it makes sense somehow. Sounded better than I remembered anyway. But yeah, it used to bug the hell out of me on the radio. But Bloody Well Right, yeah. Yeah, man. Okay, so I'm making a video about a bunch of albums I haven't listened to in 10 years or more. King Crimson Red. That was what the final of 3 albums with these 3 guys here. Of course, Robert Fripp, Bill Bruford on drums, John Wetton vocals and bass, and of course they had stripped down to a 3-piece after losing David Cross and one other fellow. But was the other fellow still on here somehow? Anyway, Red, of course the instrumental title track, a proto-metal type song, One More Red Nightmare, that was it, right? Yeah, that is actually one of my favorite King Crimson songs because I love Bill Bruford's drumming on that. Really, really cool. Really appreciate his drumming talent for that one there. And actually the, the Providence, the long 12-minute instrumental doesn't really do much for me until I start hearing John Wetton's bass coming in, because it sounds like some big kind of beastly thing is starting to wake up and become active, and the sound of the bass is just really cool. So yeah, King Crimson's Red. Here's one that I remember I liked, but I again haven't listened to it in a long time. This is Eloy Floating. I think it's their third album. Floating, The Light from Deep Darkness, Castles in the Air, Plastic Girl, and Madhouse. And I think Madhouse is alright, but the other four are pretty cool songs. Okay, so Eloy Floating from Germany. We have Griffin, Red Queen to Griffin 3, and I believe this is Griffin's third album. Clever title. I should have included this in my video, was it last year, of cleverly titled numbered albums. Red Queen, I'm getting all tongue-tied. Red Queen to Griffin 3, because it is their third album. 4 tracks on here, all about like 10 to 12 minutes long, and just lots of different instruments being played, including crumb horn, which is probably what this massive thing is here on the back. Yeah, and one more than Stobs, and I think this is their 9th album. Stobs, this is after, of course, after Rick Wakeman left, but I was always curious about what they sounded like. And again, I haven't listened to this for a very long time, but I still have it. Pretty interesting album, I remember, but that's all I remember about it. So there you go. That is the Prog section. And we're going to do one more section. This is the CanCon section, which I did previously. However, this one is a lot shorter. So let's see here. I'm going to mention that after. Okay, so CanCon, we have Moxie's debut album. Good, solid, hard rockin' band. Buzz Sherman with those really kind of raw sounding vocals. And Tommy Bolin in here doing the lead guitar work, because they went to California to record this. And the guitarist Earl Johnson, I think it was, and the producer didn't get along very well. So the producer told him to get out. And then they needed somebody to do the lead guitar solos, and Tommy Bolin happened to be in the same studio and thought the band sounded cool, so he agreed to come in and do the solos for this one. So that's neat. Thundermug, their third album, ta-da! And this is the last album with Joe DeAngelis on lead vocals. Thundermug, a heavy hard rockin' band from Ontario with some other types of things. I think they started branching out with their style more from the second album. I don't like this one as much as the previous two, but I do remember there are some pretty cool songs. Oh, there's Drive My Car, a cover, a Beatles cover. Alright, yeah. Banga Banga Humpa Humpa. Okay, whatever. Anyway, ta-da, the third album by Thundermug. And actually, yeah, after that, they would record a 4th album without Joe DeAngelis, but it would not get released until many, many years later on Axe Records, Greg Hamilton's label. 2nd album by Mahogany Rush, Child of the Novelty. Big improvement, I think, from their debut, which was not a bad album, but just, I think, you know, it's their 2nd album, they're moving up. So Frank Marino and the two lads, who is it there, James Iob, I don't know, sorry James, and Paul Hawkwind on bass. Yeah, anyway, yeah, I like this one, but I do like the other one better. I don't remember what I liked about this now. Again, an album I have not listened to for a long time. Is there something about 1974 that I just haven't been listening to albums from 1974? I guess it's because I was listening to albums from 73 and 72 and 71 recently, the last, 3 years, so missed out on 74. This is the 2nd album by the Quebec prog band Contraction. I do hope I'll be doing my Quebec prog video this year, because it has also been on the list since 2018, 2019, so I do intend to get there. So Contraction, a Quebec prog band. This is La Bourse ou la Vie, Money or Your Life. Is that La Bourse ou la Vie? Yeah, Money or Life, basically. The Money or the Life. Money or Life. And there is one song on here that is 17 minutes and 59 seconds. La Bourse ou la Vie. And female lead vocals, and just very cool prog band. Listened to that one maybe about 5 years ago. And then Chilliwack Riding High, one of Chilliwack's probably most accessible early albums. They were pretty experimental when they started out, doing lots of weird stuff, and sometimes also rock, sometimes country, sometimes folk, and sometimes just like, let's clap hands and hum chants. Okay, of course, 1974, we had the Guess Who with Road Food. We had Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, Gordon Lightfoot all releasing albums. We had a Bachman Turner Overdrive with Not Fragile, which I used to have on cassette. I have a Bachman Turner Overdrive CD compilation. I think it's 2 discs or whatever, 1 disc maybe. I don't know where it is. I reorganized stuff here over the winter holidays and I cannot find it. It's probably in a box under this table and I just don't know which box it is. I searched in other boxes and couldn't find it. Also, A Foot in Cold Water, their 3rd album, All Around Us. I have that. I have 3 albums by A Foot in Cold Water. I don't know where they are either. 70s Canadian stuff is up here, down there, and extra stuff is in a box under there. It's not in any of those, but A Foot in Cold Water, All Around Us. Reissuing the song, re-releasing the song, Make Me Do Anything You Want, a shorter version, hopefully trying to attract the American market. Didn't really do it. But Helix later on would cover that song on their album Walkin' the Razor's Edge in 1984. What else was there? Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, Tooth and Claw, the final album of Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes before Ted Nugent would just go on his own. That is an album I've been thinking to get. It's been on my shopping cart, Amazon standby cart for ages. Thin Lizzy, Nightlife, might get it. Bad Company, self-titled, I've been thinking about it, and CGC Vinyl. Just talked about it recently and said what a great album it is, and I commented I've been thinking to get it, and he said, oh, you'll love it, it's fantastic. So, alright, I gotta get the Bad Company debut. And, is that it? That's it, isn't it? That's it! That's my 1974 album collection with mostly what I have, and a couple albums, 3 or 4 albums I don't have that I'd like to get. That's all. So, hey, any albums from 1974 that I didn't mention, like Jethro Tull, for example, or any others that you really like, go ahead and leave me a comment if you wish. Otherwise, thank you all for watching. See you next time in a 1994 video, probably next weekend. All right, everyone, thank you. Take care, and see you then. Bye.